And from the prelims, we go to the early prelims. 4 fights remain for the UFC 300 breakdown. It starts in the lightweight division. Top 15 ranked opponents, Jalin Turner and Renato Moicano. Let's get into it. The 6'3" tarantula, Jalin Turner, is coming into UFC 300 off of a victory over Bobby Green in December of last year, but before that had lost 2 fights in a row. But both of those were razor close split decisions against Matoshi Gamrot and Dan Hooker, both of which you could argue Turner won. And before that 2-loss streak, he had tallied off 5 straight victories with 5 straight finishes. Jalin Turner is one of the most exciting fighters in the lightweight division, which says a lot because this has been the most exciting division in the UFC for a very long time. He has a 100% finish rate, 14 wins, 14 finishes, and he will look to make it a perfect 15 out of 15, but it may not come very easy against Renato Moicano, a gamer who's been around for a long time. Renato Moicano has been around in the UFC for nearly 10 years, dating back to December of 2014, yet he is only 34 years old and looks to be in the best shape of his career. He's won 4 of his last 5 fights, with the only loss coming to Rafael dos Anjos, and that was on super short notice, flying across the world, going 25 minutes with the former champion. But outside of that, he's beaten Drew Dober, he's beaten Brad Riddell, Alexander Hernandez, and Jai Herbert during this stretch of success. And if you want to go down the list here of the career from Moicano, which has spanned across 2 divisions, look at the other guys he's losing to. Rafael Fiziev, Korean Zombie, Jose Aldo, Brian Ortega. I mean, he's losing to nothing but the best of the best in their respective divisions. Now Money Moicano is looking to make it 3 straight victories, none of which would be bigger than the number 10 ranked Jalin Turner. Next is the fight that, in my opinion, is the one that is getting slept on the most on this entire UFC 300 card. We have the number 4 ranked strawweight in the world and former champion Jessica Andrade going up against the number 6 ranked strawweight Marina Rodriguez. Jessica Andrade started 2023 with a victory over Lauren Murphy. She ended 2023 with a finish victory over Mackenzie Dern, but sandwiched in between were 3 losses, all via stoppage. 5 fights in 2023 for Jessica Andrade, and now she gets her spot on the UFC 300 card. And let's be honest here, she's literally fought nothing but the best in the world for years and years and years at this point, dating back to her becoming a champion. And those losses last year were to Erin Blanchfield, who just lost a number 1 contender fight at flyweight. She took that on short notice, by the way, Jessica Andrade. She then lost to Yan Xiaonan by finish. Oh, and by the way, that victory earned Yan Xiaonan the title fight shot on this very card this weekend. And the other loss was in August to Tatiana Suarez, someone who, if it wasn't for injuries, would already be a champion in the UFC, if you ask me. And on the other side, Marina Rodriguez, throughout 2021 and 2022, rallied off 4 straight victories against Amanda Ribas, Michelle Waterson-Gomez, Mackenzie Dern, and Yan Xiaonan. Those 4 wins got her to a title shot opportunity, in my opinion, and rather than waiting, she chose to take a fight with Amanda Lemos, and she came out on the losing side of that and then lost again to Virna Jandiroba last May. But she didn't end 2023 on a negative note. She did beat Michelle Waterson-Gomez for a second time, this time with a strong TKO finish in the second round. Marina looks to get back into title contention, but to do so, she'll have to take out the former champion, Jessica Andrade. Andrade is one of the most exciting women's fighters on the roster. I said Zhang Weili is the most exciting. At the close number 2 spot is probably Jessica Andrade. She comes out ready to stand and bang no matter what. And Marina Rodriguez is a very technical, sharp Muay Thai practitioner. She's very dangerous on the feet. We've seen her knock out Michelle Waterson-Gomez. We've seen her knock out Amanda Ribas. She has the technique and skill set to finish Jessica Andrade, and we know that Andrade has the ability to finish her opponents here. I look for this to actually be one of the best fights on the prelims. People stop sleeping on it. This is high stakes and high octane action. Next up, this one is for the OGs, baby. In the lightweight division, Bobby King Green, currently a top 15 ranked fighter at 155 pounds, is taking on Jim Miller. Somehow, some way, these two paths have never crossed until now at UFC 300. These two fighters combined for 27 years worth of experience in just the UFC alone. Bobby Green debuted in 2013. Jim Miller debuted way back in October of 2008. Not only do these two combine for 27 years of experience in the UFC, but they combine for 68 UFC fights. Come on, man. You can't write this one up better. Bobby Green, throughout these past 3 or 4 years, has been on a pretty strong stretch. He's even won 2 of his last 3 fights, Tony Ferguson and Grant Dawson, both by finish. But he is coming off of that brutal knockout last December that I had previously mentioned against Jalin Turner. Meanwhile, the 40-year-old Jim Miller has won 5 of his last 6 fights, all by finish. What is going on here? This is unbelievable. Jim Miller is looking to extend his UFC record for most fights, most victories, and he's looking to crack into the top 15 at 40 years old and become the only fighter to ever get victories on UFC 100, UFC 200, and UFC 300. People that say this man isn't a Hall of Famer, get out of here, man. Jim Miller, Hall of Fame bound. This fight right here, banger guaranteed. And last but not least, the first fight of the night for UFC 300, the curtain jerker, is between two former champions. The former flyweight champion of the world and current number 8 ranked bantamweight Deiveson Figueiredo will take on the former bantamweight champion of the world, Cody Garbrandt. Deiveson Figueiredo's insane run from 2019 to 2020 earned him the right to become the flyweight champion of the world and set up a quadrilogy rivalry with Brandon Moreno, one that he did end up coming out on the losing side of, 1 win, 2 losses, and 1 draw. But it was a rivalry that in a large part saved the UFC flyweight division. And since that rivalry came to a conclusion, he has moved up to 135 pounds, and he got his debut victory in the weight class in December against top 10 Rob Font. And Cody No Love Garbrandt, we all know the story. He was undefeated. He dethroned Dominic Cruz in one of the best title-winning performances in UFC history. But ever since that night in December of 2016, it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows for the former champ. He went on a stretch where he lost 5 out of 6 fights, 4 of those 5 via knockout loss, but he has righted the wrongs. He's won 2 straight fights. He had a 2-0 year in 2023 after a near year and a half long layoff between December of 2021 and March of 2023. That first victory of last year was against Trevin Jones, and then he knocked out Brian Kelleher in December. Now the 32-year-old Garbrandt will look to make one final run at that title, and it starts with the number 8 ranked bantamweight Deiveson Figueiredo. Don't blink during this fight. We know that these both have fight-ending power at any moment. 11 out of the 14 wins for Cody Garbrandt have come by way of knockout, and 4 of his 5 losses have come by way of knockout. And Figueiredo has finished 17 of his 22 victories and been finished 2 of his 3 losses. There's no better way to open up a fight card than by this right here. Is it safe to say Deiveson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt is the best opening fight of any card in UFC history? If your answer is no, you're lying. So that is it for UFC 300. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for this 3-part video saga. It has come to a conclusion, and what that means is that it is about time for UFC 300. You're seeing this on Friday, which means tomorrow it all goes down, the biggest card in UFC history. If you are excited, Let me know in the comments below. Give me all of your predictions. And if you enjoyed this preview and the other previews, please be sure to drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss my breakdowns every single week, my recaps, and my thoughts and opinions on MMA news and fight announcements. Be sure to join the community and interact with myself on social media at the BAJ MMA, and follow along on your favorite audio listening platform if you like one long form podcast episode every single Friday and Monday. Enjoy the fights this weekend, and I will see you in the next one. We're going to have a lot of stuff to discuss in the aftermath of UFC 300.